Let's welcome Michael Milutis. He is a marketing strategist, public speaker, creator of The Great IT Professional, the world's first mobile app to offer unlimited PDU-approved learning. Michael also offers personal branding consulting and career coaching to project managers and IT professionals. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It is great to have you. So tell us a little bit about The Great IT Professional. What is that? What's that all about with the app?
With the app, well, it's a mobile app that we created that puts IT learning in the palm of people's hands. We felt that there was a strong need for this. For those of you who are in IT, I'm sure you know that the educational space is sort of marinated with learning management systems. Which
I like that, marinated.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am in IT.
I just had dinner, so I'm thinking food. You know, and there's never been a learning management system that's been created that anybody enjoys using. On the other hand, we all know from experience that there's nobody walking around on the planet that doesn't know how to use TED Talks or YouTube in order to learn something, whether it's fixing a flat tire or learning how financial markets work. And people enjoy learning in that way. So the disconnect from my perspective, at least in the IT space, is that the problem was the medium. There has been nobody has integrated that medium into the IT space. So what we wanted to do was to encourage continuous learning within IT by creating a medium that was user-friendly, on-demand, click and play like the YouTube or TED Talks model, and where they could consume IT best practices, education.
Right. How many? When did you start the app?
Well, we started the educational program about 10 years ago.
Right.
We started developing the app in 2015, and we brought it to market in March of 2016.
Pretty quick.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I guess you guys would know how to do that, though.
Well, we are an IT
Seen
company.
as
Yeah, right.
Experts.
They're in the.
I'm sure
they're
it
in
was
the
a
business.
flawless project implementation.
Well, I mean, to be fair, to be fair, I actually worked with an old college friend of mine who doesn't officially work for us.
Okay.
And he came in and he helped develop the project for us. He's an expert in this. He's out in San Francisco, but we got very lucky because him and his team they really moved through this quickly.
Yeah.
They were masters of requirements, gathering requirements, and they gave us exactly what we wanted.
It's always the
That's
most
amazing.
important thing for a successful IT project. Probably any successful project, but
Well, there's a million
gathering.
different there's a million different ways that a project like this could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so
absolutely.
to have
Right.
us now we have over, not only did we launch it within less than 9 months of starting the development process, but at this point we have over 20,000 people using
Wow.
it. And
I know one of those 20,000. Right? Don't I?
use it. I use it.
James uses it.
I do.
Yeah, he downloaded
I
it.
was going to ask you with the app development. You did something for iOS? I know that because I have an
Yes.
iPhone. Are you on Android also?
that's you get extra points for
look
that.
at him.
You get
We
extra
do our
points.
Well,
homework.
I have a follow up question.
do
then,
our homework.
which is are you going to develop a progressive web app for
Well,
it?
I'll tell you this. We did the first version in iOS. I know that there's a lot of arguments either way about the market share and who uses it and how many the percentage internationally and domestically.
Well, yeah.
I was an iOS user, so I was biased towards iOS.
Yeah,
Nice. Very nice.
Brian,
We
if
love
you had to
Apple.
guess, what would you say market penetration is for iOS?
I would
as
say,
opposed to-
I'm
as
gonna-
opposed to
well,
Android.
in my mind, it's 95%.
Right,
But I
it's-
know in reality, it's probably 25.
it's about the opposite. I think it's 82% for
Yeah,
Android.
right.
But that's
worldwide.
Right.
That's
what-
worldwide.
Yeah, no, domestically it's 50-50.
Yeah. Is it 50?
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
50
Oh,
in the
okay.
United
It's
States.
but-
that
and
makes me
so-
feel a little bit better.
And since the majority of our market right now is in the States, I said, well, this is a coin flip.
Right.
I'm going to go with the system that I use and that my CEO, our CEO, who's my boss, uses.
Right.
You know what philosophy I like? Bring something to a party that you like, because chances are if you enjoy it, someone else is going to enjoy it.
going to like it too.
So,
But it's an interesting question for the IT folks because I know a lot of IT guys that look down their nose at Apple anything.
Yeah, I know.
You can't be serious
I
if
see
it's
it.
Apple.
Yeah,
I
that's
see it.
not true,
I
you
see
know.
it every day, and we call the Apple people fanboys.
Yes.
And then there's
Yeah.
the geeks that are the Android
Yeah.
folks, and it's I get it both ways every day in the office. But to answer your question, we are planning on extending it to Android. We developed it in a language called Xamarin, which is very easily extendable.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be. It's not an entire new development project. But the chief stakeholder in this project, who is our CEO, has said he wanted to see more members and more downloads until he authorized that. So which
Yeah.
is fair.
Oh, okay.
Which
Right.
is fair.
Is it audio and video?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, I wouldn't say it's video in the sense of like a TED Talk video.
Right.
We do these as live we use WebEx, and we do live PowerPoint voiceover webcasts with experts from around the world. Sometimes they're in Australia.
Wow.
Sometimes they're in Europe.
Right.
They use Skype. They Skype in. And we take those live sessions, and that's how we record them, and that's how we build the library. So when you're on the mobile device, you're literally scrolling through, very similar to the TED Talks app, all the categories, and you can see all the thumbnails, and you can click and play them. You can be in your car driving to work. You could be at the gym, riding a bike, listening to it. And that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be easy for people. And there's no buyer's remorse, because if you listen to something and it didn't hit it, it didn't do it for you, hey, there's 1,000 other in the library.
Right.
And
absolutely.
if you've paid the subscription fee, which is $200 a year, you're never going to mind if you listen to something and it wasn't quite right, because you have 1,000 other to choose from.
I put in an expense report for this, by the way.
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll see if that gets approved. But all right, how long are they all an hour?
Well, right now, yes, and that's because 100% or 95% of our market right now is the PMI community. And and I'm sure you probably know this, which is that if you're earning PDUs, one PDU is 60 minutes of education.
Oh, okay.
So because the economic argument for purchasing the app is based on the fact that $200 for unlimited PDUs is less than what most people are already spending on PDUs, we're really kind of tied into that PDU argument right now. Now, what I would like to do over time is, the vision is ultimately that we want to be TED Talks for IT professionals, and not just the source of unlimited PDUs for PMI members.
Right.
And in that sense, I see a huge opportunity for us to diversify into 5-minute content and 10-minute content, podcast content, what you guys do, because that's where it's at.
Yes,
when you have the short, and there's a reason why TED Talks lectures are between 7 and 12 minutes long. They've already figured that out.
Right.
That's
a sweet spot.
People stop paying attention.
Yeah.
We were going to do an hour-long show. But, I mean, we were going to talk slower. We were going to say the same things. We were just going to talk a lot slower.
How many times have you made that joke?
How many
That's the first time I've heard that.
How many episodes have we done?
Yeah.
Well, we've done a lot, but that's...
is that the first time you heard that?
That is the first time.
That's good.
All original material.
I'm sure you can get a lot of
show.
mileage out of that one.
There's an important aspect to this, though, that might not be apparent to our listeners, which is you're not showing people like how to configure a RAID array. You're talking about process work, right?
Yes,
or
exactly.
Efficiency.
Very good point. Yeah,
we're
not. There's no tools-based learning, and we're not oriented towards what I would call the commoditized skills-based learning, because there's plenty of sites out there where people can learn how to code in C++, or learn how to set up a website, or learn how to use Excel in a certain creative way. That's not what this is. We are going after the opportunity that we have seen, not just with my department, my organization that created the app, but also with our company, and we've been in business for 35 years, it's all about IT process improvement.
Right.
So that's why projects, as you know, are over budget, over schedule. That's why we have such a terrible track record in this industry, is because the engineering discipline that we take for granted in civil engineering, and we know when you're building buildings and building bridges, it just doesn't exist in software development. And that's where, as a businessman and as a business, that's where the opportunity is. So if we've been focused on that niche for 35 years, the idea is that if we are going to start creating education for the IT community, we want to be aligned with our own values.
Right.
So it's very much about, there's lots of methodologies, a lot of development methodologies.
Do you guys have stuff on Agile?
Oh, a ton of stuff.
Tons of
course.
ability.
Of course
Everything's
they do.
Agile.
That's one of our biggest.
Of course.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing.
Everything.
Why would
If
you even
it's
ask?
not Agile, it's ball bearing.
I don't even think you need to. I don't even think you need to ask that question.
It's all James.
Right.
James, it's all ball bearings.
It's all ball
these days.
bearings.
It's all ball
these
bearings.
But Michael, tell me, can you tell us where you got started in this, and maybe why you got started?
Are you talking about my career or this app?
Yeah, no, both.
Well, I mean, it's a long and rocky road, I'll tell you that. Which is partly the reason why I ended up as a career development consultant and as a branding consultant for people, is because if anybody knows how bumpy a career path is,
Right.
it's me.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
you started off as IT.
I started off, well, I mean, I fell into IT like many of other people because it was a good paying job.
Right.
They trained me. I was very lucky. I came in during Y2K, and they taught me how to do basic programming. because there was such a demand for it. So I was one of these people that was a junior programmer, and I was overshadowed by a lot of very brilliant people that, you know the type. I mean, there are people that have...
You're looking at the type.
Well, you guys don't fit this, you guys don't fit the profile as far as I'm concerned,
Right.
you know.
The brilliant part of the profile.
Yeah, you got the brilliant part, but you don't...
Overshadowing maybe, but not the brilliant part.
So I was on site for 2 years in an insurance company in Manhattan, and I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, I learned every day, but I always felt that I was in just a little bit over my head, and that I would never be able to get up to speed with, I wasn't one of these people that was going to take a Sci-based textbook home on the subway with me.
Right. But so where did you make that break?
Well, I made
Where's
the break. I made the break when the client went through bankruptcy, was going through bankruptcy.
Okay.
And they were getting rid of all the consultants. So I kind of had the decision made for me. So I contacted corporate headquarters, and I said, I have two choices. I can either go back to school, maybe get an MBA, or perhaps you can reassign me to another project out of corporate headquarters in the meantime. They typically call that being on the bench, but I wasn't sure where it would lead. So they said, okay, we'll bring you back. They had me come back, and of all things, they said at the time, and we're a small company. I mean, at the time, we were probably, 100,000, we were probably $100 million, $150 million a year company, $200 million a year company. Didn't have...
That's a small company?
Well, I mean, now
I'd love to have too much.
Yeah.
Now we're almost $1 billion company.
Right.
So we didn't have a huge wholly owned, offshore service provider facility in India or China or the Philippines. We didn't have anything like that. Our competitors did. So we felt that this was an issue that we had to investigate. Well, they said they wanted me on this they wanted me to figure out where the threat was to the business and to put together some arguments and some legislative changes, and then to go to Congress and start lobbying.
Wow.
And it's a huge
Yeah.
thing to undertake when
Yeah.
you come out of just being a junior programmer. But I did that. I did that for almost 2 years, and I spoke with every member of the Judiciary Committee. The interesting thing is that now that, with Trump having been elected, it's very funny because a lot of the arguments that they make about high-tech immigration are things that we were talking about back in 2001,
Right.
back in 2002.
Well, what do you mean by that? Because Trump was one of the first people to talk about not doing the H-1B1 visas. So are you...
You mean Donald Trump?
Well,
James?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just want to be clear
Yes,
to the
but-
audience.
President-elect.
Okay.
Well, the issue that I saw...
Is that what you meant?
Well, yes. The issue
Yeah.
that I saw when I was working on this back in the day was that you couldn't go after this if we were being outplayed by big companies that had wholly owned facilities, in these other countries.
Right.
We couldn't attack this we were not going to violate the principles of free trade. We're not going to make an argument against free trade. We're not going to make an argument for protectionism. That's a very weak argument. That's not a strong position to make. But what I did discover was that the H-1B and L-1B, the high-tech visas, which are used all the time in IT,
Right.
that there was so much abuse in that area, and that we were losing business domestically because we couldn't outbid
Right.
competitors. We couldn't outbid competitors who were abusing these visas, and there's a lot of ways that those visas were being abused. For one way that obvious way was that there were no enforcement mechanisms built into the law.
Right.
So even though companies were actually violating the law, say with the prevailing wage laws, there was absolutely no penalty
Right.
for violating it. So we decided to go after the immigration aspect of the problem to tighten that up, and we made some progress. But I haven't heard this again until Trump started running again. Now a lot of his immigration talk is about Mexico and about NAFTA and about But
he staked that out with the down in Florida with the Disney workers.
But he's talked about the high tech visas and some of the abuse that goes along with that.
Yeah.
So I worked on that for a couple of years, and then when we had kind of reached its end, our CEO or my boss, he said, well, we've never really had a proper marketing department because most of the business has been what we could call relationship-based selling. We hire people who have 20 years of experience, and
Right.
they have a Rolodex, and they're working their contacts, and we don't have ads at the airport with Tiger Woods. That we can't afford that, right? So he needed me to start a.
You could probably get some of those now.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Prices dropped from the Tiger Woods ads.
Right.
Yeah, prices definitely gone down on those. So I basically have been in marketing now for 10 years, and the app, interestingly enough, it started off as what I would say a strategic marketing initiative. It was what we would call lost leadership,
Right.
and also what we would call thought leadership branding.
Yeah.
So by being the source of education within IT process improvement and giving away most of it for free. We give away a lot of stuff for free. We just charge for it. we were embellishing our own credentials as leaders in IT process improvement.
And now it's like a primary content delivery mechanism.
Oh yeah. Well, now it's become monetized.
Everything. It's all mobile.
It's in it, but it's also the project has gone from being strategic to actually being monetized in its own right.
Sure. Bringing in
And
money.
you know, in a couple of years, my little business unit might even be profitable, which is unique because in marketing is typically a cost center.
Yep.
Yeah.
So to convert a marketing business unit into a revenue producing or profitable unit is, I think that's kind of revolutionary.
That's terrific.
So that would be my claim to fame.
So I know we're running out of time, but there's just another question I wanted to get in. I know you do speaking at PMI chapters, and PMI Long Island, you're speaking there. We are going to be doing the mannequin challenge.
Tonight?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Did you know?
I did not know.
Oh, okay.
You guys are surprising me with a lot of things.
Yeah.
What do you think about those social kind of marketing things? In particular, maybe the what was it, the bucket challenge they did last summer?
They work.
What do you
Ice
think
bucket.
about those things?
They work. Look, we laughed. I had an emotional response just now when you said that. I can immediately in my mind, I saw flashing through my mind about 5 or 6 different examples that I can remember. It's stuck in my mind.
Right.
There's something mentally sticky about it. So I think that I know how you leverage it is. I mean, that's where you have to be clever,
Right.
You know, to get it to work for your business. Is this the right message that you want to be sending?
Is this a new trend, though? Do you see this as the new thing, that there will be something new coming up? Like this will, obviously, when we do the mannequin challenge, that will be the end of it. No one will ever do it again.
It's over.
We'll shut that down.
By the time it
But
gets
then
to us.
There'll be something else. Do you
The
think
kids- the kids will
that's
come
what
up
will
with something
happen?
new.
If
That
this
they'll
is
be
well, I mean, yes.
Remember the Harlem Shake?
I
I love the Harlem Shake.
The answer is
right?
yes, but for my time and my money, I would much rather stake out over the long term a strategy such
James,
as
write this down. Write down
yes,
what he's saying.
a strategy such as what we did, which is, you know, that the mannequin thing is flash in the pan.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's funny. It might capture some eyeballs in the short term, but over the long term, it's not going to increase revenue. It's not going to get you any new clients. It's not going to solve any of the problems that marketing people are trying to solve. It's going to get your name out there really fast if it's clever, but over time, you need a strategy that's going to be
But don't you think
sticky.
that's the point, though? Like getting your name out there, and then someone sees it and maybe sees something else that you did?
If you've got something else.
Oh, okay.
That's
okay,
my
right,
point.
right,
You've
okay.
got to have something else.
Okay,
Yeah.
you can't
It's-
be a one-trick
Look, if I
pony
could
or
do
just-
if I could do mannequin challenge and get 1 million people to pull up something on YouTube that they think is funny,
Right.
And it gets them to learn about our mobile app,
Yes.
then mission accomplished.
Okay.
But we have the mobile app. Right. So we have
Right.
something that we're trying to
Yes.
raise
you have
awareness
something
of.
else.
And over the long term, a strategy that is built around something valuable such as education is going to be much stickier, and you're going to be able to develop longer-term relationships with your prospects and your customers. Keep in mind, education is not our business. We're in the business of managed IT services. So for us, education is the innovative marketing strategy. That's what's going to
okay,
draw.
right, right.
That's what will
Yes.
draw people in.
Okay.
And if we could use mannequin challenge to get people to be aware of our
Well, that's not-
education,
So do you
Yeah.
want us to tag you in the mannequin challenge, yes or no?
I'm intrigued.
Okay. All right. He's intrigued.
I'm
I'll take
intrigued
that
enough
as a yes.
to participate.
All right. I want to thank you. That's our time. I want to thank you for being on the show. Excellent. James.
Great guest.
Great. Say something good about him. How
Something-
great was that?
Something good about him.
You guys are funny.
Thank you. Thank you
You're
very much.
funny, James. Thank
we
you for
want to
having
have
me.
you back whenever you're in town, please. That's our time. We want to thank our guests for coming in today. Also want to remind everyone to send us your SOS via email or Twitter at scopeofsuccess@pmilic.org. And please follow us on Twitter at Scope of Success. If you enjoy the show, and I know you do, please share it with a friend or coworker. I'm Brian,
I'm James.
and this has been Scope of Success. And remember to keep doing the work.
Scope of Success is brought to you by PMI Long Island, the Project Management Institute of Long Island. For more information, visit pmilic.org.